Scott Brown here. In the last exciting episode, we built these two windows here, and in this exciting episode, we're going to put them in. And we also have my friend Robbie helping us. How's it going?
Good.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Where are you from? People might go, he's American, but
I grew up in Oregon.
There we go.
Yeah, so I've lived in the middle of Oregon.
Comment below if you are also from Oregon.
In this top corner,
Yeah.
and there might be one up there, but I can't see anything.
Yeah.
So I think this might be the only thing holding it.
Alright, so in the last episode we built the windows and I touched on some of the terminology. We're going to use more of it in this one. We've got things here that we're going to refer to with the names that we usually use, and then I'll describe what they actually do. So for instance, we're starting with the facing here. These facings cover the gap between the window and the cladding. Do you have a name for facings in America, or is it facings?
We just call them trim boards.
Trim boards.
I'm sure that depending on where you're at in America, they call them different things, but
Sometimes the terminology can be a barrier, so I try to refer to things simply, but the problem is people in different countries have different terms.
in America, we call anything underneath the line of the building, you know, if this is a wood structure,
Yeah.
right? And if this was all wood, that would be the skirting.
That would be the skirting.
Yeah, we would call, if this was, yeah, these would be the skirting.
Yeah.
Where here, they're called baseboards.
And then on the inside.
And the inside, the trim that goes down to your floor, that runs around the wall,
Yeah.
we call those baseboards. And
Oh.
here, they're called skirtings.
It's very confusing.
It was very confusing. Even on the inside, these are called architraves, where we just call them trim.
So you call outside and
Door
inside.
trim, the door trim. Like we would say, hey, we got to go put door trim on.
And that could be outside or inside though.
Yeah,
In America.
yeah. We definitely don't call them architraves, or at least where I'm from, they don't. But America's a big place.
Well, there
So
we
when
go.
I got here, it was I literally had to look up stuff because I was like, what are they talking about?
All right, let's pull off the trims.
Yeah.
Or facings, or whatever they're called. They're turning back now.
Shit.
It's alright. Uh-oh.
Americans.
I'm glad you're okay, Robbie.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't cut your hand.
Not yet.
That stuff can be pretty unforgiving, yeah.
Well, I went to get my hammer out,
Yeah.
and my hand wasn't as quick as my hammer, and it ended up into the window.
Got a great idea from my friend Magda, who is also an architect at Fine Line Architecture. And she said, why not create symmetry? Because as you walk into this office, you look straight to this corner. So if it looks symmetrical, it'll look better. I've built this window so it's the same height as this one. It's half the width, but we're going to make it equal distance from the corner. So the weatherboards get cut right up against the window frame. But the frame that holds the weatherboards, the stud that we need to put in, that's going to be back 20 mil that way. But we'll talk about that in a sec when we do it. It's the time to divide and conquer. I'm tidying up the weatherboards on the outside, and that's the sound of Robbie tidying up the framing on the inside, separating the cladding from the framing. You got it!
I got it!
In one!
All in one.
And the house didn't fall down.
House did not fall down. Yep. I'm almost 15 up here.
It's that time of day. But this next part of the framing down the bottom here is a critical part to keeping the whole thing waterproof. You don't call it barbecue, eh, Robbie?
Yeah, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
So what's grilling?
It's the same thing, barbecuing.
Grilling, barbecuing.
It just depends on where you're at.
But you definitely do windows differently in the States, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What would you do instead of what we're doing?
Well, I would say that it's just the lack of sheeting.
Yeah.
Is different. Well, the plywood that goes on the exterior of the building, and then you guys here, because you don't have ply, you have to run all your cladding tight to the window, and then you do those. What do you call the scribers? The scribers.
Yeah.
And then you do the scribers, where in the States we do it the other way. You mount your trim boards up against your ply, and then your cladding comes into the trim board, and then that just gets caulked.
So what did you think when you first saw how windows were done here? Were you a bit surprised?
I was a bit confused.
We've always said that New Zealand is like still in the 70s, but we've been saying that for about 20 years now, so I think we're in the 90s now.
And that feels right for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I started in the 90s. And
building?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's about right?
Yeah. Maybe even a little bit further advanced than that.
You're right down there, Robbie. You looking for something?
Glass.
I prefer to sit this way so I get to look at it. Like I said to Robbie, I worked very hard for this view.
Speaking of the garden, that corn's from the garden.
I know.
Exciting.
Delish. Yeah, we had some last night. It was so special. Corn from the garden. I've never grown corn before.
Really?
Yeah. And the tomatoes this year have been.
Nice.
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
One of the things I remember as a kid. My dad's tomatoes, and his cucumbers, and we'd grow. And
oh man.
So good.
So with timber windows, you have to do cutting, get it close, see what it's like, and then mark and cut some more, just so when we're eventually putting it in, everything's just right. What's that, Robbie? 2 hours later?
Yeah.
So this is a critical part of the job, getting the tape in between the weatherboards and the framing to protect that corner of the framing. When you pull old windows out, if there's water damage, it's usually in this corner here, or that corner there, the bottom corners, because water gets trapped between the window and the frame, and it's got nowhere to go. So this is layer 1 of solving that problem, but there's 2 more layers to go. Layer 2, oh hi Jess. Layer 2 is under Jess's arm here. Thank you. Flashing tape. Is that?
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get to the paper, but if it does, first we'll get to this tape. And then we do the impossible task of trying to stick flashing tape all over the frame. We've got one more layer on top of this tape. We've got it strategically angled to get that other corner. The sill tray. The water gets past the window, it hits the sill tray, goes out. If that fails, it goes to the other layers. But that won't fail. The one thing we need to put on is these treated timber battens, because that brings the line where the window and the wall meet. It brings that line onto the sill tray, and the sill tray goes out beyond the batten. So this is the join, right? The join between the window and the wall. And it sits above the sill tray. So if you go hard up to the top, I'll leave a bit of a gap at the bottom. Yeah, that's it. So then you got that void in the middle. And finally, we put the window back in. Now this had to go in and out a few times because it's important that we get these parts here, these timber parts that stick out, tight against the cladding. These are called the horns, don't ask me why. but they have to be tight against the cladding while the frame of the window is flush with the cladding.
How are you guys going?
Good, we got the window in.
Ooh,
Yeah.
exciting stuff.
Picture of the garden when you're sitting down doing all your mahi. But the screen will be over here, right? So you can look off to your side.
Aw, how romantic.
We did it, Robbie.
We did it. One window.
One window. A lot of hacking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you get flowers for your troubles.
The family gets flowers.
Sort of more for his wife and children, but I mean, you enjoy them too.
I love them. I'm going to enjoy them on the way home, and then that'll be
Yeah.
last. Probably Dad gets to touch them.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah.
Please give my
Thank
love
you,
to
guys.
Jesse.
I will.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
kids.
Thank you, Robbie.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
We got plums coming. I'll let you know.
And there you have it. A timber window frame in the window. Now you probably noticed there's no sash. I'll get to that in a sec. But first I wanted to show the sill tray in closer detail, because I don't think I did that in the process. So that sits under there, and there's a 5mm gap between the sill tray and the timber sill. So on the inside you'll see that there's nothing stopping that gap. So this is where we patch all this up and we seal it. That stops any air and moisture getting through, but if any moisture tracks between the window and the frame, it goes down that little gap between these two buttons we nailed on, drops, hits the tray, and then goes out. So there's a few more things to do in here. There's a reveal to put on, and then glass goes into that reveal. Just in case you're wondering, no, I did not order the wrong glass. That's for another window. This is your typical double glazing unit. And I said I'm not putting a sash in this window, and that's because I'm just going to put one pane like this in the window. Fixed pane, so it's like a little picture frame where you can sit on your desk and look out at the garden. I popped down to Viridian the other day. Those are the guys who supplied all the glass for our house. And I allowed Tim to explain how you measure for your glazing.
We would normally measure the daylight size and then add 24mm. So that gives you 12mm cover all the way around.
Pretty simple, right? So the daylight size is basically the part of the glass that you can look through. So obviously in a window like this timber you cannot see through, but everywhere in between you can see through it. So the daylight size of this window here is 280. So 280 plus 24mm for this gasket here. So the next window to go in is this one here. And there's a few things in our way before we do that, but I've got most of them out of the way. And in the very next episode you're going to see what I mean. Because I built an outdoor shower and I may have gone too far.
Are you fucking kidding me? I was like, sorry, what?
It's been Scottified, eh?
I know. And I understand where it's coming from. This is Scott's version of rough. Most people's version of flash. Yeah, no, honestly, when I came home and I saw this, and I was like, this is your version of rough, Scott? Look at this little platform. I was imagining just like a dodgy little thing where we'd have to like step over some screws and some cockroaches and like, you know, just suck it up, Jess. No, I didn't even have worried. You think we should put a roof on it? We're trying to decide.
100%.
Oh, yeah?